So in terms of the phase one, it has been completed, and we came to the same conclusion HUD came up with, which is the deployment of teams throughout the organization. Phase two is the actual deployment, and this is almost like a soft kickoff. The training by HUD will start on the 21st. Our training is secured for the 28th and the 30th, and an invite will be sent soon. In terms of what I would like the team to do is really just not come up with 2 hours or 1 hour training, but we want a sustained support for our Ginnie Mae colleagues. So you're not alone, you're not struggling with the tool. And also we have a plan in terms of how we can harvest the artifacts that are produced in our meetings. Right now we don't do that, and those meeting minutes, those documentation that are shared are very important. So we need to have some kind of launch of our knowledge management, and it starts with coming up with a virtual collaboration where folks from Ginnie Mae are collaborating and producing artifacts that can be used for future generation, basically, because right now there is no repository for all our documents that we produce. And Matt is the program manager. He will be talking about how the implementation will be conducted. Go ahead, Matt.
Thanks, Omar. All right, good afternoon. So taking us back just about a month ago, we had a Microsoft Teams demo for a select group of people, a small group of people here at Ginnie Mae. And then moving forward on our timeline here, we're at today, the 14th. We have Roxy from Microsoft. She will provide a Microsoft Teams overview and a demo, and then open it up for a Q&A. And then Omar mentioned these dates. Microsoft Teams will roll out over this upcoming holiday weekend. So when you return to the office on Tuesday, the 21st, Teams will be on your workstation, and you're certainly able to go on and start playing around, adding your contacts. And then moving to the following week, we have 2 sessions scheduled where Microsoft will be here on site at Ginnie Mae, Tuesday the 28th, and then on Thursday the 30th to provide training. And invites will be sent out for those sessions, and you can RSVP to the one that works best for you, or maybe attend both.
It's replacing Skype, and it's adding more to it. Because, for Skype, it's only the chatting, but this one you will have the whiteboard, you will have connection with SharePoint. For me, I have requested from Roxy to come and really talk to our leadership in terms of how we really can use Microsoft Teams. So I will be conducting a small session for Tamara and for Barbara, and any leadership who wants to join us, to see how they can position it within their program offices to assist. So I will be sending an invite, and then it's up to them to see how we can utilize it. There is a few things that HUD is taking out. This is, again, we're going to assess the impact and see exactly if something we want to pursue separately from HUD and enable it within Ginnie Mae. It's very important for us to have chat not just within the organization. We want to be interconnected within the organization and outside, working with our vendors, working with our partners. So this is very important for us, and this is what our leadership basically suggested. This is a very important item to list for this deployment, is to have access, for outsiders to have access to our communication. Sure. So Skype would be probably phased out in 6 months, from 3 months to 6 months. But I'm sure once you see Teams, you will probably just embark and start using it. And without further ado, I'm going to give to Roxy for a quick demo. This demo will be repeated at HUD, and will be repeated at Ginnie Mae. Today, just to give you a glimpse of what's out there.
I'll also go into your question a little bit more as well. Oh, it's this one. Gotcha. Okay. Well, I guess I'll stand right here. Hi, everyone. My name is Roxy Ndebumadu. I am a federal customer success lead with Microsoft. I've been with the company for about 2.5 years now, and I have been working with HUD for about the last 2 years that I've been with Microsoft, really just evaluating these products that HUD uses that are from the Microsoft side and planning their team's rollout with them and defining those use cases and how HUD is actually going to use Microsoft Teams and what the benefit will actually be. So I've worked very closely with the CIO's office and OCIO for quite some time in their field offices to really gather how users will really use this product as opposed to just getting the information from the CIO and pushing it down. So when you think about Microsoft Teams, so to answer your question, Microsoft Teams will be replacing Skype. Microsoft Teams was basically born as this collaboration tool to bring all of our solutions together that are in that Microsoft Office 365 suite. So when you think about SharePoint, OneDrive, Planner, Forms, one-to-one chat, meetings, calling, Microsoft Teams really encompasses all of that, whereas Skype didn't really encompass that before. It was kind of more of a meeting platform as opposed to a all-up collaboration platform. With Skype, it was a little bit difficult for you to be able to collaborate with people that were outside of your organization, but Microsoft Teams makes that very seamless and very easy for you to be able to do. So when you think about communication, you have one-to-one chat, so you can talk to someone individually. You can talk in group chats. You can create teams for you to be able to work on projects together. You can call people outside of the organization and inside of the organization, depending on the type of licensing that the organization has. You can host meetings. You can host live events. So if that's, for example, you want to have a town hall, or Omar wants to have a town hall for all employees, he can do that in something like a Microsoft Teams where you can kind of just join pretty seamlessly and you can just listen to whatever he has to say. You can also integrate different things like Planner. So if you guys are familiar with Planner, because I know HUD does use Planner pretty actively, you can set up different planners and assign tasks and track projects in that way. You can also track forms. So if you're looking to get feedback from your peers on a project, you can set up a form within Microsoft Teams and be able to gather that information and really just analyze that together. So that's really what it does. It's more of a platform that brings everything together so you're able to collaborate in a more seamless way. So when you look at the left-hand side of the screen, and I'll go into a demo in a second, but I just want to give you a better overview so you understand, you're going to see 3 main buttons when I launch this application and when it comes to your desktop. You're going to see a chat function, you're going to see a messages function, and you're also going to see a calling function. So that's what I talked about when I talked about that messaging one-to-one, one-to-many, and then being able to have meetings and calls. Those are going to be your buttons for you to be able to do those kind of things. You'll also see a place where files are stored. So when you think about OneDrive and where you store your files, you'll be able to access that directly in Teams. So the ideology behind Teams is you never have to leave this hub to do your work, so you can stay in it. So as opposed to just going to the files on your computer, clicking on OneDrive or your G Drive or your shared drive, you can just do that right within Teams. So any file that you share within Teams will stay in Teams, so you never have to leave it to go look for it. Then when you think about the store, I won't go into that too much because that deals with more so compliance and the way that you guys want to set that up. So we'll have that conversation later on what you want to have access to within the Microsoft store. But typically you'll see more Microsoft-centered things, whether that's Planner, Forms, if you want to add that into Teams. So as opposed to going through this type of thing, I'll show you in a demo shortly, but you have persistent chat, you have discussions, you have kind of like that guest access. So HUD will be allowing guest access. So if you're working with different contractors or outside partners, you're able to give them guest access to join your team site. So anything that you share within the chat or that channel or within that team, those users that are outside the organization will be able to access that as well and have be able to collaborate with you and view the documents and things like that. So that's how you have that also feature. Teams is available on mobile devices, desktop, and the browser. So if you're not at your desktop and let's say you're just on a web client, you can access it that way by just going to www.outlook.microsoft.com, those kind of things. So as opposed to going through all this, I will just go through the demo with you. All right. Okay, so here you have your general Teams layout. This is a Teams on the desktop client. So normally you'd pull it up, you'd log in, and then I'll just go through this portion of it right here where your name and everything is. So you'd log in here by clicking login, and then also you'd see your name, you'd see whether your status is available. So this feature is kind of interesting because what it will do is it mimics your Outlook calendar. So let's say, for example, you have meetings set up in Outlook, it's going to mimic it right here. So if you're in a meeting, it's going to say in a meeting. If you're in a call, it's going to say in a call. If you're busy, like if you're working on a project and you just don't really want to be bothered, you want to let people know, hey, I'm not available to chat right now, you just select busy. If you're available, meaning that you are working but you're open to having communication, you'd select available. Or you can appear away or be right back so people kind of know, before they reach out to you what's going on and where you are. You also have the ability to set a status. So sometimes if you're out of office, let's say, and you want people to know that you're out of office, you can put, be back later here in your status. The way Microsoft usually does it, because, we're kind of nifty in that way, people will have different quotes or just different things, like different updates. If you're saying like update your engagements or update your customer information, you have different messages that you can put there that will appear at the bottom of the screen every time someone messages you. So every time someone messages you, if you do set a status, it will show here at the very bottom of the screen. And I'll show you what that looks like in a second. So I'm going to put out of office. Then I'm going to set it for not an hour. I'm going to set it for the duration of this week. So it'll show there, and I can set how long I want to set that to. With this button right underneath where you see saved, I probably don't have anything saved, but then again, I do. You can save things. So when you see discussions happening, you see documents being uploaded, you see a conversation that you want to go back and retrack, you can save it by clicking the ellipses and see where it says save this message. So every time you go back here and you click your save, it'll automatically pop up on the screen to show you everything that you've saved throughout the time that you've used Teams. So that's an interesting feature as well. Won't necessarily go through settings, but I will just slightly a little bit. So with Teams, you have the ability, based off of your visual requirements, you have the ability to view it in a regular default mode. You can view it in a dark mode, and you can also view it in high contrast, depending on what you need for your eyesight. I personally like dark because I'm blind in my left eye, so it's easier for me to be able to see. So I use dark most of the time. So you have the ability to be able to kind of change that. You have the ability to change the language settings if you'd like, and then also I would assume most of you wouldn't use this feature, but if you have an executive admin, you have the ability to add them so that they can manage your team site if you need that to happen as well. Okay, so I will go back. Perfect. So on the left-hand side here, you see that we're already in the team. So this is technically what a team will look like. Right now, I'm in the hurricane evacuations team, basically. So that's a team that has been created for this particular project or for this initiative that's going on. The general is a page that you'll have associated with every team. So every time you create a team site, you will have automatically curated a general tab. This is where general conversation will occur. And if you ever add anybody or remove people from the team, you'll always see it here. You'll always see the updates for this team site in general. So if someone changes a name, if someone adds a channel, unless you set that channel to private, everyone will always be able to track the updates of this particular team within this general channel. Right here on conversation. So when you go next to conversation, you see files. So that's what I was talking about earlier, is that if you ever upload anything to this team site, you'll be able to always just click on files as opposed to going to your OneDrive separately and see that access right here. So if I click on this PowerPoint will be able to come up. So everybody that's added into this, you can open it in PowerPoint as well or here. But everyone that's added into this team site will have access to edit this PowerPoint at any time. So it'll be live. So there's no maximum amount of people that you can have in the PowerPoint at any one given time. So if you have a team of 50 or 60 or 100 people in the team site, 100 people could be in this PowerPoint at the same time, uploading it in live time. It'll automatically always save, so you don't necessarily need to press save, and then you can just go to files all the time and see, and it'll always show you when when the last person who modified it was. So if it was modified in this case by Rima, it'll show Rima Reyes was the last person to modify this document and the date that she modified this document. If you want to add new documents to this particular channel in the team site, you just press on new, and then you can either create a Word document from scratch, you could create an Excel spreadsheet, PowerPoint presentation, or just add it from your folder. So it'll upload it directly from your OneDrive. Or you can just press upload, and that will access my OneDrive. So this is my OneDrive, and I'll be able to upload something here. So I'll just upload a generic file here. Hopefully it lets me do it. Yep. And so when you upload this generic file here, it'll show right there that it uploaded, and it shows that it uploaded by Rima Reyes. So everybody in the team site will be able to access this document now. If it's easier, like let's say you want to send an email out to people to be able to go directly to this document in this team site, you just press get link. It'll curate the link for you. You just copy it, put it in your email, and therefore people have the link to be able to go right directly to that document within this team site. So I will move on to channels and what that means. So with every team site, you have the ability to create channels. Channels, we like to think of them, for example, this is a hurricane evacuations group, and that's the initiative that we're working on right now. One project that we have going on under this initiative is weather tracking. Then the other project we have is logistics. So you can add different channels for different purposes of that entire team site. So we have 3 different channels. Some of these channels, you have the ability to hide them. So let's say, for example, if I have 5 of you in a team site and I want to hide a channel and I only want 3 of you to be able to see it, the owner of the team site could go in and press, only show for these particular people in the team site, meaning the other 2 people would never see that channel existed, only the 3 people. So you have the ability from a privacy perspective to be able to set it up in that way if you don't want other people that are in the team site to be able to see what it is you're working on for that particular channel. So you have the ability to do that as well. You also have the ability in each channel to add different things. So this is what I talked about when I talked about using Planner or Power BI or PowerPoint. So for this, I'll go to OneNote. I have the ability in this particular channel to create a OneNote. So if we're working on different things and we're taking notes and I want the team to be able to see and be able to edit it, and I don't really want to create a Word doc because it's not necessary for this particular project, I will just create a notebook here, and then let's see. I'll create this notebook. It'll post to the general site. So when I told you anything that I change or upload or do, it'll upload in generals. And now I can enter things in this section 1. I can now create notes in this notebook, and people can just go to the note tab up here and be able to just access that very easily and see all the notes that we've ever taken. The interesting thing about that, the unique thing about this too as well, if we get back into the conversations, let's say I am creating a meeting. Oopsie, that's a live meeting right now. Let's say I'm like, okay, well, I really want to meet right now. Once we meet right now and I press that, I also have the ability to save the notes from that meeting right there in that note tab. So every note that you've created from that particular meeting will be very, very much so right up here at the top, and you can access the notes from every meeting, which is also the unique feature. The other unique feature that I just clicked on is you're able to do live meetings. So let's say you were discussing something and you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot, we need to meet right now. You just click on meetings, and I'll go through all of these in a second. At the bottom where it says the camera, and I'm saying this will notify everyone in that channel that we're meeting right now. So let's say last minute. I don't want that to be on. And I press meet now. So it'll call everybody that's in that channel and send them alert like, hey, you're being called to pull into this meeting. So all these people in that channel, it'll start to call them. Unfortunately, I'm the only one that joined. So I am going to hang up now.
Can you tell the status of those folks to see if they're available or not?
Yes, so let me go back to that really quickly. So once I connect, all these people, so I can see that the X means that these people are not online. So the last time David was online was 10 hours ago. So I know that he's probably not going to join because he's not online. Bill has an out of office because his Outlook calendar is showing that he's out of office. So I know Bill's probably not going to join because he's not in the office. So that's really where you go. When you hover over these people, it'll show you that status. That's where I talked about the importance of setting your status or it mimicking your Outlook calendar. And then since now that we're here, I'll just go over this really quickly. You can always invite someone or dial a number. So based off your calling plans, I wouldn't go into that because that was something that we need to go over later. But you can add another team member. So let's say I want to call Diana and pull her in really quickly. I can type in her name, or call David. I can type in his name, and it'll add David to the call as well, just in case he's missing and I want to make sure that he's available or he gets in really immediately. This is for your camera. So if you want to turn your camera on, you have the ability to turn the camera on. If you want to turn it off, you just press on the camera. To mute yourself, you don't want anyone to hear you talk right now, you just press mute. To be able to share your desktop, these are the options that you have. So you just kind of press that desktop widget, and then it'll share your desktop. I can click to share my screen right now, or I can click to share the PowerPoints that are the most recent ones that I've been in at the bottom. So it won't necessarily share my desktop, but it will just pull from that PowerPoint and share that out to the group that's in the meeting. And then you have more actions. The interesting part about Teams that I really personally like is the ability to record meetings. So you have the ability to record meetings in Teams, whereas Skype, it was a little bit more manual and quite frankly time-consuming. So when you recorded meetings in Skype, you'd record it, and then it'll take maybe an hour, 30 minutes to compress, and then it'll store somewhere in a file, and then you go there and dig it out. With Microsoft Teams, since it's a cloud-based platform, basically when you press start meeting recording, as soon as now it lets everyone know that I'm recording this meeting. So at the top of everyone's desktop, it'll say this meeting is being recorded so that they know. And then as soon as I stop the meeting recording, it will then, in that channel, send me the link to a stream. So Stream is basically our video streaming platform. So it'll record it in Stream, so you always have those meetings recorded, and it sends you an immediate link 10 minutes after, maybe 5 to 10 minutes after the meeting, where everyone can go back and just watch that video. So it's very much so an automated process as opposed to more manual the way Skype was. So that's another interesting thing. You can also, oh, sorry, go ahead.
In terms of external clients, is this totally okay? Recording meetings, that it would be extremely helpful because there are the amount of technical information that can be recorded and then
Right.
produced later. It's extremely valuable. So in terms of our policy, how do we do that with external clients? Is that totally okay and acceptable, or do we need to inform everyone when to do it? Do we need to get okay from clients?
Yeah, so I'll pass it to Omar. It really depends on the privacy settings that they set up. You can do it. So let's say, for example, you can, if you invite an external person to your team site and you do meetings, they will have access to the recording after because you've invited them to that team site. But if Ginnie Mae decides, hey, we don't want external people on our network and we don't want them to have access, then they would not have access. They would have to be a part of the team site to be able to view the recording unless you sent them a direct link that allowed external access.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a policy question, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna check with HUD's proposal, and then bring it to our leadership and say, what do we need to do with it? In terms of the privacy, in terms of the encryption, in terms of, these are things we're gonna need to communicate to everyone at Ginnie Mae.
Yeah,
So that's
I think
simple.
it would be extremely valuable to have a recording ability, especially on certain meetings that are so technical, so detailed, and you can come back, and recover the information.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I think it's a similar question. So if we have external guests, they have to have this software, right?
No. So because because Microsoft Teams is also a web-based application as well, if you invite anyone, let's say you invite anyone to, if I do it now, it may not work per se, but let me try. If I invite anyone to a team per se, it'll send them a link, and it will say you've been invited to join X team, and then they'd click on the link and they can access it from a web base. They would have to sign up, like for example, sign in with their email, like the email that you invited. They'd have to create a login, but they would still be able to access it on a web-based platform. They don't necessarily need to download the application itself. They can access it on the web with the link. Yeah. And they can also access it on mobile. So it depends on how they want to do it. Alrighty. Okay. So the other thing about this meeting, so you see the meeting recorded. The link is already there since it already sent after. So that's the quickness. Then on the right-hand side, you'll always have a meeting chat going on. So let's say sometimes someone's in the meeting and you can't really talk or you can't come off mute. I can just add David and say, are you there? Or whatever it is that I want David to know, and it'll be in the chat, and we can communicate via chat at the same time simultaneously. If David said, hey, I didn't really get that document that you said, I could just press the paperclip button at the top, and everything that's in this team site, all the docs, I can just add it right there to that. I can just add the link there, or I can open it, and then people will be able to access it within the meeting as well. The funny thing about Teams that some people like as well are the fact that you can add emojis. So you have that emoji bank at the bottom to be able to liven up the meeting if you want and add that there. So that's another thing that you could possibly do as well. Then the other thing as well, Teams has GIFs incorporated in it. So sometimes when we're in meetings, we may send each other GIFs at Microsoft and say, I'm angry or I'm happy, and add GIFs in there too. So that's the other unique, nifty part about Teams that makes it lively and fun. You can also create stickers. So let's say you wanted to send something or you wanted to create something. You can add your own caption, and then add in whatever you want to, create it, and then it's right there and you add it into the team site. So that's the other kind of unique part that people tend to really like about Teams and some of the things that you're able to do. So I will exit out the meeting and go to chat. Go ahead.
Quick question about meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Right now I can't see external partners, their schedule when I'm in a meeting. Will I be able to do that now?
Same thing. No.
No.
Mm-mm. No, only because they're not in your environment, so you wouldn't ever be able to see their calendar because it's not synced into your environment. No. It's a good question, though. Yes.
And you were done with out of the office and the chat. So right now, like with our Outlook, if Skype, when our Skype comes up, it kind of interacts with our Outlook email. Does that happen here?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
You don't have to go in and
No.
do a special message.
So if you're out of office and you have that in Outlook setting, Teams will mimic that right here. So it'll say out of office. It's not an option right now, but it's never going to be an option. It'll just mimic Outlook. It'll say out of office at the top, and then your message, whatever your out of office messages that you set, it will go into your status. So people will always be able to see that you're out of office. So with the chat feature, it's pretty much the same thing, pretty similar to what we just went over, but this is a one-on-one chat. So right now I'm having a conversation with Bill, who's not in office at the moment. So this is kind of what it looks like. That's his out-of-office message in Outlook. It says, this is not my typical email. Email me at Bill Microsoft because this is a demo email tenant. And it shows that arrow that he's not here. So it's out, and then it shows his message. So that's what it will look like every time you're out of office in Teams. So right now we're having a conversation with Bill. So in the conversation, I can mark this message as important and then start to type, come back soon. And this is kind of how you'll have that same one-to-one chat that you have in Skype, that you'll be able to have it in Teams. So that's what it will look like. The unique thing about Teams too, let's say I mark this message important. So when Bill when he opens up Microsoft Teams, whether that's on the web application or the desktop, it'll show a number 1 where it says activity right here, and it'll notify him like, hey, you have an important notification that needs your attention. He'll click right here and he'll see it on his feed that Roxy sent him a message that says come back soon, and he'll be able to click right there and go to it immediately. So that's the other interesting part. Another thing that we like to recommend that most users do is if you're trying to communicate with someone, let's say I'll do a group chat. So I'll do it with Bill, David, and Anthony, And then I will go to the bottom and try to, so this is now our group chat. So it's really important as something that we recommend as a best practice to at the person that you're trying to communicate with. Because sometimes the way that people have their notifications set up, and you can set it up however you like, sometimes they may not get the immediate notification that someone's talking in a group chat because it's not directly added towards them. So that's why we like to recommend, if you are trying to get someone's attention, in this case I'm trying to get Bill, I at him, so it will pop up in his account activity, hey, someone is adding you and there's an important message that you really need your attention, you need to hurry up and go look at it. So that's what it'll look like. If we are having a group chat, I can also rename the group. So, we're going to call this the Weekend Club. And I can name that group chat there. So let's say we just wanted to really work on something really quickly, the three of us, that didn't really require us to create a team because it's really not necessary. We can just work here. I can now work with Bill and David and Anthony right here and just type our messages and go over whatever it is that we want to talk about. Add the same documents here if we wanted to add those documents, or, play with GIFs or whatever it is that we're trying to do. We could still add that in our group chat. The maximum capacity for group chats is 500 people. But you might not have that problem because there are not 500 people here. So you'll be able to add up to 500 people in a group chat itself. The maximum capacity for any team site is 5,000 people. You probably won't have that issue either. So that's the maximum capacity. So I'll go over how to create a team site as well for you, just so you know how to do that too and what that looks like. So here, well, that's how you start a group chat, but let's go to... So at the bottom, so the also cool feature about teams is, let's say your peers in here had different team sites. Like, let's say you had a team site for the tennis club, because you have a tennis club because people love tennis. You can click join or create, and if there's a tennis club site and it's open to the public, like the owner of that team has set it to public, you could join the tennis club group here because it will show up here and you can easily just go join it and say, okay, I want to play tennis with everyone now. Let me join that team site. So normally when you're trying to create a team, you would just click at the very bottom of your screen always. Right here it'll say join or create a team. You'd click that and then you'd click create a team. The fun thing is that you have the ability to create a team from scratch, or you can create a team from an existing Office 365 groups, because Office 365 groups is the back end of the grouping requirements for Microsoft Teams. In this case, I don't have an existing Office 365 group, so I'm going to create one from scratch. Now it's going to ask me, do I want to do something org-wide, which probably you may not have access to do anyways. So I'm going to pick between private or public. Is this a confidential team site or a confidential project that I want to work on? In this case, let's say it is. So I'm going to click private. That means no one will be able to access your team unless the people that you invite to it. So if you don't invite them, they will never access it. It'll show up as it's a team created, but it will show private, and then they'd have to request permission, and the owner would get a notification and be able to add them. And I'll see if it'll let me do that because I don't have a second person. So let's say weather management. And then I have the ability to add a description here. And then I have also the ability to change the setting. Is this sensitive information? Is this very sensitive information? So people kind of understand what this group is really about. In this case, we're going to go with very sensitive. And now I'm going to create. So right now it's creating the team. So then it will bring me to the step where I add members. So in this case, I'm going to add David. I want him, so I type in his name. I click add. I'm going to add Bill. Click add, and I'm going to add Anna, and I click add. So because I created the group and I started this team site, I have the ability to make them an owner or a member. In this case, I'm only going to make one person an owner, which means they have the ability to change the settings and the requirements of the actual team. And the rest of these people would just be able to contribute, or I can also go into settings, and I'll show you that after this. I can also manipulate what they have access to do in this team site, whether they have access to post, comment, or they have access to just view. I can manipulate those settings as the owner of the team site. So now the team is created. So now we're back to that general tab that I talked about, that it will always show what I did within this team site. So you can see that I added all these people and I changed Anna to an owner. I can now create more channels. So the overall group is called Weather Management. I can now create a channel to focus specifically on Northeast. I can add a description, but I don't want to. So remember when I talked about you can make this private, or you can have it show up with everyone in everyone's team site. In this option right here, I have the ability to click and then it will automatically show up on everybody's desktop to be able to see that this channel exists. But if I don't click it, then everybody won't be able to see that this channel exists. So in this one, I want it to show up in everyone's channel list. So now it's creating this channel. So now you see I have general and I have Northeast here. So Northeast is a channel that specifically focuses on the Northeast region within this team site. So now I can add a planner to it because I want to work in planner. So let's say, and I don't know if do you use planner at all here really much? Okay, well, HUD uses planner. They just started using planner a couple months ago. So now I'm going to add a planner, only because this is it can be very helpful. So in this planner now, I have this folder, not folder, but this section that says tasks. I can add tasks for different people. So now I'm going to add task call people back. And I can assign a due date on this task. And now this due date, because I assigned a due date to this task, it'll now start emailing people like, hey, you have a task to do. And I can assign who this task is for. Now, because Anna's in my group, I can assign that task to her. Now, Anna has a task to call people back, and she'll have the ability to go in there and check when that task is completed and edit it here. So here she can show that either she started it, in progress, whether it's completed. I'm going to say that it's completed for this intensive purpose. It's medium priority, and when was the start date. So that was today. You can add attachments to this and update it, and then everybody that's in this particular team site will be able to see all access to this. Right? So now we're done, and it moves under completed because I marked it completed. Go ahead.
Go back because I saw a send button at the bottom.
Yes.
And I'm curious to know what that's for.
So send is usually when you have like comments. So if you want to add
Yep, got it.
or add an attachment, that kind of thing. Yep.
I missed that.
Or add a checklist item. There you go. So I will go away from this now and go back to conversations. Well, I'll actually skip this because now we're done going over this. But just know when you click the plus sign, you have the ability to import all of these things into a team site. So I don't necessarily know what your security settings are, but you do have the access to be able to bring in websites, like a web page. So let's say if you wanted to click on website and I wanted to add in like a particular URL, I can put it in there, let's say. Oh.
You got to add the HTTP.
Oh, yep, there you go. Okay, what is that? I think it's what it is. That should work. Well, maybe it doesn't work for this one, but you have the ability to be able to kind of add the website there, and then it'll show in as another tab at the top. So when you click on the tab at the top, you'll just view the website, like the actual web page, like the same thing you'd view in a browser. It'll show up in your team site, so you don't have to leave the team site. And then you can add all these other features. These are the features that are approved for the government client that you are in, because HUD isn't a government tenant. So you will not be able to add third-party applications that are not certified federal compliant products. So all of these products are federally compliant. So you'll be able to add all of these products here and nothing else that you don't see here. So these are all the options that you have to be able to add into your team site. So now I will go over calls. Yeah, yes.
You say that we cannot add third-party applications, even if it's being certified by someone?
If they are certified for the government, you can add them. If they're not FedRAMP compliant, you cannot add them. So because HUD isn't a government community client, we call it a GCC client, and you're not in the commercial tenant. That means that if you were in the commercial tenant, you'd see all these third-party applications like mine. But if you're not, because they're not FedRAMP, you will not be able to see them. So like right here at the App Store, this is all you'll see because this is all that's federally compliant, which usually you'll be able to see like Zello or Trello and all those kind of things. You'll be able to see those, but you won't be able to see them because they're not federally compliant.
If it's hosted within our data center?
If it's hosted in your data center and you allow it, then yes, you will be able to. But if it's just like a regular, you want to add some, commercial, but no, it wouldn't.
In our data center.
So here's the calling feature. Then I'll show you how to create a meeting really quickly, and then I'll take any questions you have. So this is the calling center. So I have these people on speed dial. I have myself on speed dial because today I'm Rima. So I can easily speed dial Roxy, or I can speed dial Bill. So these are people that are added on my speed dial. I can dial a number. So this also depends on your calling requirements. I don't know what they are, so I won't go too much into them. But you have the ability, if you do have the calling requirements, to call outside numbers through Teams from your desktop or from your mobile phone. So you don't have to necessarily use your telephone. You can use the Teams application. So that's what you can do there. Now I'll go into creating a meeting. Well, no, yep, I'll go into this one because it wasn't there. So when we talked about earlier that Microsoft Teams interacts with Outlook, your calendar from Outlook is going to be right here in Teams. So right here to the left-hand corner, it's not in this tenant, but in yours it will be. You'll be able to see calendar, and you'll be able to click on that, and this is what it will show. So everything that you have on Outlook, you'll be able to see here and kind of click, edit there, add, things like that. So here I'm trying to create a meeting. So the same way I would normally do it in Outlook, I would just title the meeting, press the location, whether it's in a room or if it's virtual. If it's not virtual, then I would just kind of leave it blank. I wouldn't pick a location because it's going to be through Teams. I'd create a start time and an end time, and then I'd add in the details the same way you would in Outlook. I will invite people. So if you're doing it in a channel, that's why you have this option. If you want to have people meet within a channel, or if you want to just set up a regular meeting that's going to go on Outlook, you can just randomly invite people here. All the people from this meeting. And then I would just press schedule. Once I press schedule, it will now create the meeting, and now it has that to be able to join the team site. So you click join, or if you don't want to join and you just want to chat and let everyone know, hey, I'm running late, you have the ability to just open the chat and be able to say, hey, I'm just running late, as opposed to just pinging, or, sorry, we say ping, but as opposed to messaging everyone individually. So you have that ability as well. So that's kind of how you go through a chat. Create a meeting site. Yeah.
Question. What you just created showed the call-in number and the conference ID.
Yes.
How is that going to be created for us? Do we have to each individually have a conference number with separate caller IDs?
It depends.
Access?
That's your policy.
Yeah, I don't know if for us it will behave like Skype, right?
Yeah, it will do the same thing as Skype.
It will be just like Skype.
Okay, so for
But
those
you
of
don't
us who've
need-
never used Skype for
You don't-
meetings, what does that mean?
You don't need a phone number. I mean, you just have to click on Skype or on Teams.
So I'll go back to it.
Okay.
I'll go back to it. Like, see right here. So the same thing will, pretend this is an Outlook calendar right now, but it's just in Teams right now. If you go to your Outlook, you'll be able to click on the meeting, and then you'd be able to click join. So you would just join the meeting, like from Teams essentially, or from Outlook, or wherever you see it, like whether it's Outlook or Teams, you could just press join and it'll automatically join, and you don't need to call in per se, put it like that.
Okay.
So right now,
It's auto-generated. Yeah, it's auto-generated.
for Outlook right now, if I'm creating a calendar in Outlook and I'm inviting people to it, I can like schedule to make sure that they're available, things of that nature. Will I be able to do that in Teams as well? So that it'll show what their availability is.
Yeah. So just pretend this is Outlook. It's just in Teams. It's exactly the same thing. So you'll be able to do all the same things, but you'll just be able to do it in Teams, because the ideology is that you never have to leave Teams to go to another application to do something. Yeah. And then here, like for example, you see this is a link. So let's say you talked about having external people. Even though I can invite them, I can copy and paste this link and put it in an email if I'm sending it to someone that doesn't work at Ginnie Mae and say, hey, this is the link to join the meeting. When they click on that link, it'll now take them to a web browser for them to be able to join the meeting. So to just, let me see if it'll allow me to do this. If I can click on it, I think it will reroute me to the desktop because I have it. Yeah, it's going to reroute me to the desktop because I have the desktop, but for everyone else that has the link, it'll take them to a web browser and they can join the meeting the same way that you see I'm able to. Then I'll go through the App Store really quickly because you'll see this at the bottom too, and then I'll take any questions you have. So at the bottom, you'll always see apps. Apps is always going to be what's I guess you'd say certified for your environment. Right now, this is what's certified for this particular environment. Yours will look very similar, and it'll usually only be Microsoft products. So these are the FedRAMP compliant applications that you can add in. So you'll be able to see all of those there based off of what's available from a bot perspective. Planner technically acts as a bot because it's like you can automate an algorithm within it, or Flow. You'll have Flow as well, but we won't go into that today. Or you'll have certain different types of connectors or messaging platforms that you can add in. Usually it'll just be Microsoft products because you're in the government cloud, so you won't really see any external products here, ever. But you may see it if you have other people that work at other agencies or other companies. You may see other external things because of the type of tenant that they have.
Is Microsoft Forms accessible on the government?
Yes, it is. So HUD deployed Microsoft Forms. I want to say we did that 5 months ago. So you'll have that. That's accessible. I don't think I have Forms in this. No, but I will show you a brief example really quickly of what it looks like. Sorry. But in this time, I can take any questions while I pull it up so you can see what it looks like. Or comments.
And how fast will the user manual be available?
In terms of like some how-tos.
Yeah, all of this.
It should, when are you?
I got it, but when I walk out the door, I
Right.
don't have it anymore.
You have them now. I mean, OCIO has sent all the documentation we have access to, so you have them now.
I do, where?
If you have you seen the latest communications from OCIO?
I'll have to, okay,
Yeah, so
I'll check.
they have lots of documentation. Yeah.
They have
The list there.
they're talking about it on the.
Yep, got it.
And on
Yeah.
the 28th and 30th, we'll get like this quick start and maybe a cup from Microsoft. For free.
Yeah.
If you want your cup, show up.
Yeah.
What else we'll get? That's about
You'll
it.
get a couple things, but I can't give away surprises today. So this is what, like, so I just want to show you really quick because you asked about Outlook. This is my Outlook calendar. So this, I'm just looking at it in Teams. So yeah, I know it's a little, yeah. It's, so I'm just looking at it in Teams, but this is importing everything that's from my Outlook. So I'll show you what that looks like. So this is what my Outlook calendar looks like. So it looks the exact same way.
Yeah,
So I
yeah, it does.
do all the same things. Yeah. And then I'll show you Forms really quickly. No, where's Forms? Yep, so you'll have this as well. So this is what I talked about when I said forms, where you're able to create polls, questions, like a form to be able to gather information from people. So you'll be able to create the question and do that in Teams and add it to a team site. So that's what I meant. And so this is like what a calling plan looks like. This is mine particularly. So all these people I call, or, you know, things like that. All the team sites that you're a part of will be on the left-hand side. And then for the ones that you don't use, like let's say you haven't gone in them within the last 15 days, it'll show at the bottom and show hidden teams, and you'll be able to go see all the hidden teams that you have and be able to look at it that way. So it's a pretty nifty tool. Then with activity, I'll show you really quickly because I couldn't see it. These are all the things that are going on. So like I missed a call, it shows right here. This person liked one of my messages, so I can like her messages or, you know, react to it. It'll show her and notify her that I reacted to her message or things like that. So that's kind of like what you'll be able to see. And then when you see that I said people have statuses, this is my status. I like quotes, so, that's what I put. And then it shows that I'm busy right now, so people don't really bother me. And then it shows my picture and my first and last name. So that's what you'll be able to see to make it more realistic for you. Oh. And thank you for joining.
Thank you.